Hey FLOSSTUBE, it's Leigh from Creatively on Sunday the 3rd of October with FLOSSTUBE number, or really non-FLOSSTUBE number 95. I'm up at my dad's in Kawerau in the Bay of Plenty, and as per last week I asked for some questions. I thought I'd just do a sort of Q&A video for this week. And I don't actually have any stitching to show you because I did work on a couple of whips but I didn't bring them with me. I was going to take photos, ran out of time, so basically I just worked on Joan Elliott Oriental Lady Grace. That came out really weird. Joan Elliott's Oriental Lady Grace, and I worked on, I did a little bit on my Nora Corbett Bella B on Friday night with Karen on over a messenger video. So a little bit of progress there, but I'll show you when I do my next proper floss tube. So for those of you who like stitching, this video has no stitching. I asked for questions last week. I got a butt ton of questions. I've ended up theming them into non-stitchy, so yeah, non-stitchy questions, stitchy questions, which includes sort of general stitching, my 50 at 50 and craft roomy stuff. So this video is only going to be the non-stitchy questions, and I've combined it with some just random footage as I've driven up the country yesterday, sort of an eight and a half hour drive I think it was. So if you're only here for the stitching, just skip this video. Next week I should have a little bit of stitching to show you. I will pre-record a video for next Sunday and I will do the stitchy related questions, and I'll just film them here while I'm at Dad's and show you what I stitched on during the week, which is probably going to be Monofolk Embroidery, Fruit of Plenty. But yeah, please, if you don't care about non-stitchy stuff, you don't want to watch this video. But if you want to see some of footage of the North Island of New Zealand and hear random crap that I ramble on at each stop along the way, you're welcome to stay along for the ride. It's probably quite a long video. I haven't put all the little clips together yet, but I estimate it's going to be about 45 minutes long. We'll see when I wrap this up. Ciao. So first stop on the trip, barely 40 minutes in, is the Company Coast. So I guess this is the southwest coast of North Island, and it's very windy. It's going to be a lot of wind noise. Apologies. It's Company Island down there. I think it's going to piss down with rain soon. So yeah, it's a pretty wild coast. Not a coast to swim in. And somewhere over there, you might be able to see the shadow on the horizon up before the ocean is the South Island. Crazy, huh? Okay, so we're in the car for the first of the questions. So, I mean, the first question all up was, can you show us some of your, what was the quote? New Zealand countryside. So I'm going to try and do that on the way up. I think the weather's going to be terrible though, so it might be lots of this is what Taihape looks like in the rain, this is what Wairuru looks like in the rain, but anyway, we'll see how we go. But otherwise, am I a New Zealand native? From Margaret. Yes, I'm a Kiwi, born and bred. So, and then Margaret followed on with, where else have I lived other than Upper Hutt? So, born in Gisborne in Poverty Bay, moved to the Eastern Bay of Plenty when I was just 5.5, I guess. So we've lived for a little while, year and a half maybe, I'm not sure how long, till I was about 7, in Awakiri, a little rural settlement, middle of farming country just outside of Whakatane. Then we moved to Whakatane, lived in a number of houses. We basically had most of my schooling from 7 through 17 when I was in Whakatane. I went to university in University of Waikato in Hamilton, so in the Waikato, and That was a 3-year degree. Then I ended up, despite all best intentions and me declaring I'm never going to live and work in Whakatane, moved back to Whakatane after I finished my degree because I didn't have a job. So I was on the dole for about 15 months doing all sorts of random shit, including counting washers and screws at farm services in Edgecombe. Oh, I guess I lived with Dad for a year in Edgecombe, which is in the Bay of Plenty as well. Back to Whakatane when I got a job at the bank. Then I moved to Wellington, and I've lived in mostly the northern suburbs in Wellington, until I built my house and moved out to Upper Hutt. So all over the North Island, largely central North Island. That's pretty much it. So yeah, I'll check in with you soon. And yes, it's raining. It's about 9:45 maybe, and I've been on the road just over an hour and a half, or an hour and a quarter. And I stopped at Otaki to go to the loo and grab a bottle of water because I didn't bring any with me. It's the first plastic bottle that I've bought in at least 9 months, so I feel bad for the environment, but I needed to get a bottle of water. Another question from Heather. Like to know more about where you live, what it's like there. That's like a really big question. Do you mean Upper Hutt, or do you mean New Zealand? I don't know. For those of you who don't know New Zealand very well, I'm going to read some crap from Wikipedia or from the interwebs. So developed country, New Zealand ranks pretty highly in international comparisons of national performance, such as quality of life, education, protection of civil liberties, government transparency, economic freedom. I guess the country's generally described as social democrat, or generally left-wing or centre-left are used more frequently. We have a complicated assortment of socialist causes and organisations. Some of these play a considerable role in public activism. I guess we have historical links to socialism, but we're not generally considered socialist because we are accepting of a capitalist economy. The population of New Zealand is just over 5 million, where Auckland has about 1.5 million. So what's that, close to a third of the country. Christchurch is our next biggest city with just under 400,000. Wellington City, just over 200,000. And Upper Hutt, where I live, only 46,000. Whakatane, where I grew up, is 37,000, and where my dad lives in Kawerau, 7,500. So generally small populations. I work in the public sector, which apparently employs around 348,000 people. We're generally known as public servants, and it's about 14% of the country's employed people. It's expensive. New Zealand has a pretty high cost of living compared to a lot of other, especially in the cities. We've quite high taxes, I guess, but we do have those social policies, which means, we have publicly funded health, which I guess I'd rather pay a bit of tax and know that I can go to hospital and not have to come out of it bankrupt. And I guess we have a weird kind of patriotism here. I guess we're kind of proud of being Kiwis down here in the bottom of the world. Our isolation allows us some liberties that other countries can't have. It's expensive to post stuff here, and food's expensive, and the cost of housing is ridiculous. I built a house 3 years ago and it's almost doubled in value, and it's ironic that I can't actually afford to buy the house that I live in. But I don't know, what's it like to live? Your experience is what your experience is. Certainly we enjoy a lot of freedoms here that some people in other parts of the world don't have. It's still a relatively safe place to live. We have too much domestic violence, we have too many road accidents, I think we've got there's always, like anywhere, often increasing gaps between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots. We're increasingly recognising ourselves as a multicultural society. I think we're doing better with recognising the impacts of colonialism on people, especially, you know, people who were here first, such as the Māori. Generally, I think we're pretty accepting of diversity and of people's different cultures and different beliefs and different identities, but there's still pockets of, you know, extreme racism and extreme homophobia and extreme fear, which leads to hate and horrible people online, trolls online, etc. But I think generally we care about people, and we care about people having, you know, a good life and success and being safe, and yeah. And New Zealanders are very sports mad, so our patriotism is generally through our rugby team, or the All Blacks, and other sports teams. That's where you'll see patriotism where it's head. We're less about waving flags and declaring anything to anyone, but gosh, you know, talk bad against the All Blacks, the rugby team, and it'll be all over. Anyway, I better get on the road. So yeah, hopefully that helps, Heather. I don't know, quite a big question. Cheers. Okay, so here we are at the obligatory roadworks waiting, and I just wanted to, can I zoom? Black-faced sheep. I don't see, I don't even know if it's focusing. But we're in sort of sheepy country and just waiting, presumably, for someone to switch the sign for us to go rather than stop. Anyway, while we're waiting, do we have a question? What's this question on the list? Have I lived anywhere other than New Zealand? No, I haven't. I did actually get successfully got my name drawn out in the US Diversity Lottery, aka the Green Card Lottery, a couple of years ago. Oh my god, maybe 10 years ago. I don't remember when. And I seriously considered it. But the thing with the Diversity Lottery is you basically get the opportunity to apply for a green card or I guess a working visa, and you're still going to spend quite a bit of money and go up to Auckland and have an interview and all. And they still can say no, like if they go, you failed the health check or whatever it might be. And it was quite a lot of money, and I sort of had to sit down and think, do I want to live in the United States? And I decided, you know what, I don't want to live in the United States. And just made the decision to not apply. You know, pros and con list, and there were just too many cons on it. Even down to the, like, you know, I'd lose my health and, you know, free health and health cover or whatever you call it. And I don't know, just, you know, who knows where you're going to live, right? And work, and I don't know. I just decided it wasn't right for me. Also, probably a couple of years before that, I actually rented out my house, put everything in storage in preparation for moving overseas. This must have been around 2008 when they had the financial crisis. So I had enough points to go get a work visa for the UK, and then the financial crisis hit in 2008. The UK changed their points. I was going to have to basically they changed the point system, so not a bachelor's degree, but I'd have to have a master's or postgraduate degree. And then also there was, I guess I heard they were hiring on people in the UK. It was going to get harder to find a job, and anyway, it just ended up being completely the wrong time to do it. And then I guess my work changed at work. I got a new role at work as project manager, and also by then my mum was pretty ill, so I decided again it was not the best time to leave New Zealand. And now I'm just like, you know what, I love living in New Zealand. I love my little house. I have a pretty good job. I would just when I travel, it costs a lot to get anywhere, but when I travel I will take extra time, take time off. I get 5 weeks a year leave, and usually can take some extra leave in advance if I needed to. So I can spend sort of 5 or 6 weeks away, and that's what I did like when I went to India and stuff. And now in hindsight, I'm very glad I live in New Zealand, because I think it's one of, if not the best country to be stuck in during this global pandemic. So yeah, that's my where has Leigh lived story. Okay, you've probably had enough of looking at traffic, right? I'm still waiting at these bloody roadworks, but look, there's some dry stock over there, some beef cattle, so I didn't want to feel like I was discriminated against the bovine friends to my left, whereas I've got the sheep to my right. So pretty damned exciting, right? And just for anyone who isn't from New Zealand, who hasn't been here, this might look to some of you, particularly say from the US or Canada, like this is some little country back road. No, this is State Highway 1, our basically national highway, where we're mostly just one lane road all the way from the bottom of the South Island to the far north. It's from, I picked up a hitchhiker one time outside of Taupo heading south. He was a very well dressed young German man, and picked him up and we're driving down, and he asked me why I was taking the back road and not the main road. I'm like, this is the main road, probably as far from an autobahn as you can get. So we're not a massive country, and we don't have huge multi-lane highways or freeways, so yeah. Anyway, I'm still waiting. Like, it's been about 10 minutes and I'm still waiting for our turn to go, and it's going to be a long trip home. So I'm in Bulls, which is a little rural township at the beginning of the Rangitikei. And we're in New Zealand's pretty small, so this is how big our jails are here. This is a prison. Of course I'm kidding. It's an old local prison, but in Bulls, because they have all these statues of big bulls and they have all these little puns, so this prison is inescapable. But if I had time I'd go and have a look, but I don't. But I always stop here at Scully's. Scully's is a little, they make soap and lotions and things that smell good. Been here for a million years, and it started off with just lavender, but now they do a whole lot of different scents, and I'll ask if I can take some footage inside. So I purchased this successful. So yeah, I pretty much buy most of my soap bathroom soap and stuff, and linen spray for the sheets and stuff from here. Whenever I drive through, I stop and pick up 3 or 4 or 5 or however many bars of soap, depending on when I'm going to be back again. I do order online as well. And I bought a little gift pack for my friend for her 50th, so just a little gardening set, gardener soap and hand cream, and given that she just bought a section, is going to be doing a lot of gardening. It's very bright. I put my sunglasses on, I'm sorry. Okay, so Next question on the list, which I can't read because I don't have my reading glasses, is from, that last question, have I lived anywhere other than New Zealand, was Crafting Kirsty. This is from Terry at Button Up I'm Stitching. Tell us the places you've travelled to outside of New Zealand. And Heather also asked, where have you travelled? So again, we're going outside of New Zealand. Certainly not as much or as often as I would have liked to, but great chunks of my young adult life I wasn't earning that much money. But I think my first overseas trip was when I was 15, and it was a French trip to New Caledonia. And it was supposed to be an education. I mean, it was educational, but perhaps not for the reasons it was supposed to be. So it was 4 of us from my school. My teacher had gone to college with a couple of the French teachers in, I think, Auckland Girls Grammar and Wellington Girls High. And then somehow there were 4 places available, so my friend Valessa and I and 2 other girls that were in the year under us went along to New Caledonia, and we for this French immersion trip, and we did a whole lot of stuff like driving around and visiting the village and going to the museum and the aquarium and a day at school, and meant to be a day with the family and a whole lot of stuff. But we stayed in this little grotty little 2-star hotel in Onsvata, and the teachers were really off just doing their own thing, and there was one mother who was trying to keep control of all these 16-year-old girls literally running amok in New Caledonia, drinking because we could buy alcohol. It was such fun, such chaos, and our parents would have had a conniption if they'd known before we went that we were actually literally just on our own in a different country. And then I actually, other than several trips to Australia, like I've been to Australia a lot, sorry about the shake, because it's not far and my sister's there now, but mostly Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, and north of Brisbane where my sister lives, so lots of trips. Ignoring COVID times, Australia is like, I'd go there for a weekend, so, fly out on Friday, spend the weekend there, come home Monday. It's often, you get cheap flights if you're staying with friends or family, or just a couple of nights in a hotel or B&B or something. You can have a nice weekend away, do a bit of shopping, do a bit of sightseeing, drink some wine. My first big trip wasn't until I was 40. Life and responsibilities and just didn't work out that I could go until then. So I went to Morocco. So I was there for 3 weeks, fell in love. It was amazing. Such a great time, so much experience. I pretty much did most of the country. So I did sort of 2 tours back to back with Intrepid, but we had the same tour leader, Moha, and he was great. And we did sort of the northern tour was all the imperial cities, and then the southern tour was kind of into more the rural life and then more of the sort of Berber country life, and so into the, up the Atlas Mountains, the Rift Mountains, into Sahara. So did Moulay Rabat, Fez, Marrakesh, Casablanca, Tangier I should say, and then Aitz Ben Hadou, what did I say, Chef Showan, I've gone completely blank, Tamagut, Mohammed, across to Agadir on the coast, then up to Essaouira, just all around. So fantastic trip. Then I went to India in 2015, Boxing Day 2014. Went there for 5 weeks, and again did 2 tours a tour of Rajasthan, a food adventure where I got food poisoning, and I did then a tour of southern India, 2 different tour leaders, very different tour leaders, both great in different ways. Drank way too much money on the I did drink too much money, drank too much alcohol. Great adventures, lots of hilarity, some really cool people on the tour, and I spent 5 days in between the 2 tours with a family of a colleague in Chetala in Kerala. Full immersion, didn't speak a word of Malayalam, and they barely spoke a word of English, so it was quite funny. Had their driver sort of drove me around, and he had a few words of English and basically looked after me and made sure no one harassed me. But I was in a town where you don't have a lot of tourists. I think I was possibly the first Western person a lot of people had seen, which made me a great novelty on the beach with all the young people running up and wanting to meet me, and yeah, that was kind of cool. I went to the States in 2016 maybe, just the Pacific Northwest. Flew into San Francisco for a few days, then hired a car and drove up to Seattle via Eugene, Oregon, where I picked up my pen pal of 21 years. That was the main reason for going there in the time. And we had a week together, I think. And basically I flew back from Seattle to San Francisco and then out to New Zealand. So then I've been to Rarotonga, which is little in the Cook Islands. I went over there for a wedding in 2018. And then I've via travels, a few days in Dubai and not much time in Singapore. So where else do I want to go? Everywhere, pretty much, most places. I'm hoping, in a year or two we'll be able to travel sort of relatively safely again, because certainly there's a lot of places I want to go. I had planned to go to Europe for my 50th. It's not going to happen, so at this stage I'm looking at maybe 55. So sort of Southern Europe and Eastern Europe and Central Europe. I don't know where. Lots of places intrigue me. Yeah, I want to go to Canada, I want to go to Turkey, I want to go to the UK, and several Asian countries. I want to go back to India, I'd like to go back to Morocco. It's crazy. Anyway, that's where I've travelled. So kind of not that many places, but when I do go somewhere, I like to go for quite a while and spend a lot of time in that country to really experience it. So it feels like I'm like 10 minutes up the road and I stopped at Hunterville to have a break, get some fresh air, because everywhere else I've got out of the car I've had to wear a mask. But here I'm still in a little park in Hunterville, which is the home of the Hunter Way, where I guess sheep, dogs, and there's a statue. You're going to see the back end of a Hunterville statue. Sorry, a Hunter Way statue. Ooh, shit, blue sky. It's quite cold though. Anyway, so I grabbed myself a little ice cream, Capri chocolate hazelnut. So me and my lactose intolerance is going to love this, but anyway, an occasional ice cream treat, right? So another question from Terry at Button Up, I'm stitching, is do I always bring back mementos from my travels? And I guess sort of, generally, maybe. I try not to buy a whole lot of tat, and I'm not really interested in, like, so many souvenirs and all that, right, in countries are made in a factory in China or somewhere, so hardly anyway, real mementos. So I like to bring back something useful or something special. So I guess Morocco, I picked up this hamsa in Essaouira. We went to a silversmith's where we saw sort of young people doing apprenticeships and learning how to make silver, jewellery and stuff, and so I bought this from the silversmith, and I've worn it almost every day since I got it, which is, when did I go, 2012, so quite a commitment. And it's amazing how many people comment on how much they like it. Where did I get it from? I'm like, wow, Essaouira on the coast of Morocco. When I went to, what else did I bring back from there? My tagine I got in Fez. It's pride of place in my kitchen. It's a serving tagine, not a cooking tagine. It's a decorative one made with the grey clay that they have in Fez, and you don't cook with it, but you serve in it. So, and then probably the other key thing I brought back from there was a little box made of thuala wood, I think that's how you say it, and it's just a little jewellery box, and I got that in Essaouira as well, and it has mother of pearl inlay. From India I brought back quite a few miniature paintings, and a silk painting, which way back you would have seen in an earlier floss tube when I got stuff framed. So I've got a Krishna, miniature painting of Krishna on an old deed document, and a silk painting on black silk with gold paint. And I brought back, what else did I bring back? Carrying on the box. I imagine I might collect boxes or jewellery boxes, so I brought back a carved bone. Oh, it's very windy, my phone almost blew out of my hand. A carved bone box, camel bone I think it is. I don't know if it's camel bone, it's quite big. I can't imagine it's beef because, you know, Hindu. So what else did I bring back from India? I feel like there's something else from India that is, I got a couple of pieces of jewellery and some clothing, I guess, but they're less mementos, they're more just, I don't know, whatever. And I found it hard in Rarotonga because most of their stuff's kind of a bit tatty, but I did bring back a carved wooden spoon for a rice spoon, so something I use. And then even in Australia, my first time I went was to visit my sister in Brisbane. We went to a market and I brought back just a little cheese knife made with a handle of mango wood. And when I went to the US, I brought back, so I've got a print of a watercolour of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I got a cookbook it's a mac and cheese cookbook, so just all recipes of different fancy mac and cheese. I consider that quite a ubiquitous American dish. And what else? It's probably it really. Like, I mean, other little bits and pieces, but there's sort of things that I want to see on my wall, or I wear all the time, or I'll use, such as, you know, cooking things or whatever. So kind of try and bring back something special, which is something that I know is from that place, but not just for the sake of buying crap. Yeah, I think I'll just do one more question, then I'll get back in the car. I really have to get going. And Heather asked, probably the last of the travelling kind of related, or sorry, yeah, travel related I guess, was what are some potential bucket list items? I don't really do a bucket list because it sounds a bit ominous really, but travel more, read more, get my garden sorted, so I'm growing my own food, find the perfect handbag. I hate my handbag and I just cannot find the perfect handbag. Try new things, eat new foods. Not really, like, I just like to try things once. I've despite my general appearance, I've done a few crazy things. You know, I've ridden a mule up the Atlas Mountains, fallen into the Kerala backwaters, gone off on random, got lost in Casablanca, got drunk in the jungle in India. Ridden a camel, done a high ropes assault course. That's before my arms packed out. Before I had tennis elbow, I did a high ropes assault course. Apparently I had the shakiest legs the guy had ever seen without having, and I didn't fall off, and I managed to complete, like, walking across the log with the most wobbly legs, and I didn't fall off. And he doesn't know how I did it because I was determined not to fall. Yeah, I just like to try things and have experiences and just find joy in life, really. So, in the desert oasis of Wairua, 792 metres above sea level, there's the National Army Museum there, and pretty much it's a place to get petrol and coffee and go for a wee before heading the desert road for Volcanic Plateau. So I'll stop up the road and have a nice view of the mountains. So the Volcanic Plateau, the Central Plateau, I love the colours of the grasses and around here and pan around. And then we've got Ruapehu. Got a nice bit of snow on, and then I can barely see. The pointy one is Tongariro, and the lumpy one beyond is Arahoe. And I'm over halfway, which is great. So I'm just sitting in the car. And I should answer another question, which is, what other hobbies do I have? So I guess my main hobby is scrapbooking, but I tend to mostly just do travel albums these days. I pretty much scrapped most of all of the kids, my nieces and nephews, and my childhood, and I don't know, I just mostly do travel scrapping now, but I'm not freaking going anywhere. So I'm still working on my albums from India. I'm making them a bit hyper embellished, so it take quite a while, but I enjoy doing with travel. You enjoy the trip, then when I edit the photos I remember stuff, and then when I scrapbook I relive memories, and then then I get to look back through them. So it's like I get to enjoy the holiday lots. And I've always enjoyed doing something tactile, and I just love colour and texture and doing things with my hands. Complete opposite of my work, which is in my head and problem solving and stressful and thinking hard, and I also enjoy a bit of photography. I haven't done any proper for ages. I have taken several photography classes, and I have a Nikon D90 DSLR, which I've had for quite a few years now. Probably I got it in maybe 2011, so it's 10 years old. It's perfectly fine. If and when I upgrade or replace it, I'll probably go for a mirrorless camera, but I do love it. I love the sound of the Nikon shutter, digital shutter, so it's like I love the sound of my Mazda XLR indicator, because I'm weird like that. And what else? I dabble in all sorts of artistic-y things. I have a whole lot of craft supplies. I take in drawing classes and life drawing classes, and so I like dabbling in mixed media and a bit of collage and art journaling. I haven't done any for ages, just time, and I've been cross-stitching too much. Cross-stitching is certainly neater and easier to do on the couch. So yeah, I need to get back into some of that stuff. I love reading, I like cooking, I consider going to movies and the theatre a hobby. I enjoy live theatre and ballet and music and concerts and plays and performance art and foreign movies, art house movies. Yeah, that's all my hobbies. Okay, so it is about 4:30 in the afternoon, so I've been on the road about 8 hours. I'm tired, and I've got about 25 minutes to get to Dad's, so I'm outside. God, I always get these lakes in the water, out of water. This is one of the lakes between Rotorua and Plateau. I think this is Rotorua, or it's Rotorua. I always forget which one comes first, and the last one is Rotorua. I'm sitting in the car outside that lake, beside the lake, and one more question that's non-stitchy related, and so it's again another one from Heather, and it was what kinds of shopping favourite stores. Really tricky one. Generally, I don't love shopping. For me, shopping means just going and browsing, just buying random shit. Hate clothes shopping because when you're a voluptuous lass, shopping is often traumatic. So yeah, shopping, and I tend to have something in mind and I go looking for it, and big purchases I will take my time. I'll plan or shop around and think about it. Kind of like, you see something you really like that's expensive, I'll think about it for a while. I'll invest in a quality piece. Yes, it's kind of hard. I mean, online, I buy a lot of stuff online because of where I live, New Zealand and Wellington. I love bookstores. I could come out of a bookstore with I'd love to just own all the books, and that's a really hard thing to not do. It's very hard to not own all the books. And I try and buy New Zealand made where I can, or I try and make conscious choices. You can't always buy everything perfectly ecologically sound. I try not to waste things. I try not to waste food. I try not to buy things I'm not going to use. But yeah, I get things fixed. So yeah, I'm not really a massive shopper, but when I do shop, as you would have seen from some hauls, I shop hard. Anyway, that's the last personal question. You can see how tired I look. I'm going to change my glasses from my sunglasses, which are prescription, to my other glasses so I can. It's getting a bit dark because from these lakes I have to go through the forest and it gets quite dark, so I've just dropped my bloody expensive glasses on the floor. So yeah, last non-stitchy question. So I'll probably call this a wrap for this video, although I'm going to put a prologue and an epilogue on, I don't know, an intro and a wrap up probably tomorrow when I edit this. But yeah, it's been kind of fun, and it's probably going to be an incredibly long video. We'll see. Thanks for keeping me company on my drive. I'd say stopping and taking little videos and answering questions has added about 40 minutes onto my trip, so I'm expecting that this video is going to be at 40 minutes long. We'll see. Okay, take care. So the things I do, I'm sorry, I played with my fringe so much during that video. I should have got it trimmed when I got my hair colour done a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh no, it's fine, and it's driving me nuts. So I'm probably going to go in and get a fringe trim somewhere if I can find somewhere local while I'm here, and just get a little bit taken off, because it's still 2 weeks until I get my next hair appointment, and it's just touching that point, and it just drives me nuts. So apologies for all the fringe, I'm an active relaxer, so I think with my hands. And yeah, the audio was a bit dodgy at times because of being outside with the wind. Somehow I lost the footage of Lake Taupo. Potentially I didn't push record because that's how I roll. But yeah, I hope for those of you who hung around for what was about 43 minutes to there, that you enjoyed it. It was kind of fun doing it, and man, I looked knackered by the end of it. Driving, I like to concentrate when I drive, so yeah, it does take quite a bit of sort of mental focus to drive for 8 hours. That's pretty much it. So thanks again for watching to hear if you did. I hope you got some stitching done while you listen to me rabbit on, and I really should work on my videography skills. Right, I will get something up next Sunday, the 10th, which will be pre-recorded, and it'll be stitchy focused questions, probably a lot shorter because I actually had a lot fewer of those. So that's cool. Thanks for your questions. Everyone take care, and as always, don't let your needles rust. Ciao.